Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. Today, Tim McDonough, Manager of Client Strategy at Lotame, is joining us to show you how TownNews and Lotame can help you improve ad targeting and make more money with your in-house first-party data. Also here is Tim Turner, Director of Programs at TownNews, and Rich Griffin and Joe Hansen, Product Managers. I'm Cherry Wolf, Marketing Specialist for TownNews. The presentation will take about 30 minutes and a Q&A will follow. At any point, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll wait to answer them at the end. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available early next week. Tim, are you there?
Excellent. Well, thank you. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Cherry, Tim, Rich, Joe, Ryan, the rest of the team at TownNews, and thank you for everyone on the line. We here at Lotame are very excited about our partnership with TownNews and appreciative for this opportunity, and wanted to take some time today to walk you through about the different methods of collecting your own first-party data, potentially how to respond to RFPs and within the sales process, and how that first-party data plays a part in that, and then hopefully impact your bottom line by driving more revenue utilizing that first-party data. So the agenda today, as I mentioned, the first-party data to maximize your advertising revenue, as well as running through some of the third-party data options that you have, as well as second-party data within the Lotame platform. And lastly, we will touch on lookalike modeling and how that is available within the platform. So the challenge, I think, for all publishers within the space is, how do you effectively and efficiently monetize the first-party data on your site? I think by making more money through using that first-party data, as well as increasing traffic and really becoming more sticky to your user base. Ultimately, you want to implement a sustainable data strategy that makes sense for your team. But in general, how do you really take that first-party data to impact your bottom line in a sustainable way, and then keep repeat customers coming back, and then also driving more money with future RFPs. So a quick word about Lotame. Lotame has been around for about 13 years. We are the largest global second and third-party data marketplace. We are the largest independent DMP within the space, and we really pride ourselves on service and being nimble. As an independent DMP, we can work with just about anyone within the space. So there are, folks in the space that are technically competitors that we have server-to-server integrations with, batch file integrations. Essentially, we have the ability to work with everybody, and we are really committed to being as nimble as possible and providing a best-in-class service experience. So in terms of the technology built for publishers, there are many different solutions that you have. I know with the TownNews suite of products that you have available to you, a lot of you are focused on providing a personalized experience to your user base, which is an excellent way of reaching your readers. TownNews is one of the most sophisticated clients that we have, and I know they do a great job of working with you to drive that customized experience for your readers. And I think heading into 2020 and the way that the digital climate is, we want to just do as much as we can to really show you the value of your own first-party data, and then how you can drive the bottom line and be more effective potentially within your sales strategy. So in terms of the different methods of data collection that you have available, of course, your own site data, desktop data, whether that is collected through site sections, URLs, keywords, referral traffic, actions, etc. You also have the ability to collect both on mobile web and mobile app, bringing that data within the platform and having the ability to learn about who those folks are interacting on the mobile side, and also be able to retarget them. From a campaign data perspective, you are able to tag up your creative. So if you have creative running, whether it is on mobile or desktop, you can actually create impression and click trackers within Lotame, understand who those folks are that are interacting with your content. You can also tag up your conversion pages as well, and have the ability to, again, retarget people that are interacting with your content, creating lookalikes, and finding people that are very similar to those interacting with your content, and also potentially inform creative that is being used so you could give actionable learnings to your client. So that's something we'll get into a little bit further. And lastly, onboarding. We work with a number of onboarding partners. So we cannot actually take any PII, so personal identifiable information within the Lotame platform, but we do have the ability that if you had email lists or subscriber lists, to work with a company like Throttle, to work with a company like LiveRamp, and they can essentially anonymize that data, and we could match those cookies, and then essentially bring those cookies into the Lotame platform free of PII. So if you did want to reach out to your subscriber base for whatever reason, or remarket to people that have already purchased with maybe a special offer or something like that, you would have the option to do that as well. And running a little bit further into it, in addition to LiveRamp, there are other folks in the space like Adobe, Newstar, Salesforce, Ubimo, Oracle, that we do have partnerships with. So if you did have, let's say, a client that was working with one of these other DMPs, we can actually bring that data into the Lotame platform and maybe have the ability, again, to retarget, remarket, take those converters and finding more people like them within the marketplace. But essentially, we can take any offline data and bring it into the platform and work across the ecosystem to provide the best user experience for your clients. So your first-party data, it's so integral to utilize your own first-party data. It is yours and yours only. It's proprietary. You have the ability to take that and put it in the marketplace for targeting. It is free to you as your own data, and that can encompass any actions from a desktop or a mobile perspective, your CRM files, your subscription data, any kind of social data that you have. Within the Lotame platform, there are integrations with Twitter and Facebook as well to work from a social platform perspective. And lastly, the cross-platform data from your mobile web and apps, and we can actually break out the types of different traffic that is coming from desktop compared to mobile, so you can see with a quick glance how most of your traffic is actually interacting with the content on your owned and operated inventory. As I mentioned, we do have the ability to build lookalikes within the platform. And the way this is done is essentially by looking at an audience of, potentially your own first-party traffic, and you are able to see other, what we call behaviors, essentially other segments, other data points, whether those are branded segments or your own first-party inventory. And essentially what we will do is look at the overlap of the cookies. So let's say you have 100,000 cookies of folks that are interacting with your local news content. You could look in and see that you have about 50% overlap with folks that are interacting with your sports content. So you could essentially, if you have a situation with a buyer and they say they'd like to advertise on the local news inventory and you're actually sold out of your local news inventory, you can actually go back to them with some data and a graphic to say, look, we are sold out currently for that time period on the local news perspective, but about 50% of the same people that go to local news are also interacting with our sports content. So it allows you to build out, essentially drive more scale, if you'd like, as well as presenting cross-sell opportunities for your clients. We also have a second-party data marketplace. So if you look at the screen here, you will see the clients within the Lotame ecosystem that have actually chosen to showcase their data. So taking a look here, these are just the clients that have chosen to showcase. Every client would have to actually opt into this, sign an addendum, and then we work with them from a revenue share perspective. But you see some clients here like Lonely Planet for travel data, Advanced Local for different markets from a journalistic standpoint, Auto Trader CA up in Canada, as well as Yellow Pages CA down there as well. But if you did have a situation where you were looking for potential second-party data partners, that is something that could be accommodated. And this is just a list of folks that are actually showcasing their data. I think especially heading into 2020, a lot of folks are much more open to decoupling their media and data to some extent. So if you did have a situation where you had a client maybe from a grocery perspective or maybe travel, and let's say you didn't have a lot of grocery or travel inventory on your own owned and operated inventory, we could set you up with one of the folks listed here or not listed here that is also selling data for those different types of verticals to help you win that business. And to that point, there's a success story here. As we saw on the previous screen, Lonely Planet is a company that specializes in travel data. Hearst did not have a lot of their own first-party travel data, and they were trying to work with a client, Tourism Ireland. So essentially, they ended up buying travel data from Lonely Planet, and then seeing that they actually have a lot of travel consumers on Hearst, but because they don't have a lot of their own first-party content, they have trouble identifying those folks. But using the Lonely Planet data to actually overlay with their own first-party content, they were able to tell a compelling story to Tourism Ireland, who ended up taking the business or essentially working with Hearst. So in this situation, all three parties would end up winning. You would have Lonely Planet, who is making money from the data sale. Hearst is winning business that they might not typically win without a ton of their own travel first-party content. And Tourism Ireland benefits from working with a premium publisher in Hearst. Lastly, there is also the third-party data marketplace. So these are third-party data providers that Lotame has partnerships with, and they all have segments available for you to combine with your own first-party inventory. So whether it is MasterCard for different kinds of transactional data or different kinds of travel data, or Bombora or Dun & Bradstreet from a B2B perspective, there are a number of different partners with different CPMs that usually range from about 50 cents to about $2 that you could add to your own first-party inventory to drive additional scale. But really the biggest thing I think for today to take away is understanding how data as a whole, but really your own first-party content can play such an integral role within the sales process. And this is a workflow that we have kind of built out to understand the different levels of the sales process. So from prospecting and discovery, working with the platform, you have the ability to build out some different pre-built materials, and we have some templates which we'll show you shortly. Secondly, you have the ability to build essentially off-the-shelf segments that we like to call it. We work with one publisher who's actually done a pretty good job in selling the inventory by creating different kinds of personas. So they have things like new mothers or dads who like to golf or things like that. And you can use that with your own first-party content as well as combining third-party content. And then you have the ability to use that during a campaign to retarget as well, and then also optimize during the mid-campaign perspective. So using the platform, you can see who is interacting with your own first-party content. If you tag up your creative, you can see who is interacting with that kind of creative, and you can actually optimize mid-campaign, learn more about your customers, drive a higher CTR, but also provide learnings to the client about who is interacting with their content and maybe give them some kind of learnings that they have not seen previously. So as I mentioned with the pre-sale process, first things first, from a pre-sale perspective, within the Lotame platform, there is a suite of analytics, and you have the ability to incorporate some different kinds of storytelling within your prospecting phase, within your pitch phase. So you'll see that you are able to get some baseline demographics of the people interacting with your content. So that'll be gender, age, household income, as well as mobile and fixed web. So understanding where those folks are actually interacting with the content, whether it's mobile or desktop. And then if you'll see in the other graphic, we can also provide a look to the client of what other content those folks are interacting with. So these people are coming to our local, as I mentioned before, the same kind of example, but coming to your local news section, also interested in your sports section. So not only telling the client, what the CTR is, but also being able to say potentially, on our own site, these are the kind of demographics we see. Here are some cross-sell opportunities that we have for you, etc. And within that pre-sale phase, so this is white labeled, but this is something that we had actually built out for a client. And this is something that they use within their pitch decks. So basically understanding who is interested in auto, or essentially in market to be a purchaser of a vehicle or rent a vehicle. And you'll see that we actually can list out the amount of first-party traffic of people that are interacting with their own first-party auto content, as well as the demographics and the household income. And then on the right, you could also build in, like I said, those cross-sell opportunities. Where are these people actually going on your inventory? What verticals are they interested in? In this case, we see business, weather, college sports, opinion, but also providing some greater detail about different kinds of automobiles, whether it is body style, as well as key behavioral traits. So I think in this perspective, we like to put as much useful information on the page as possible, but also try to make it as aesthetically pleasing to the eye as possible, to give a lot of information to a client in a very interactive way that they can understand. And here's another example from a white labeled travel example. We do have a number of, for specific travel, whether it is airlines or different hotels, we have data points in the system that can tell you if someone prefers to, or people interacting with your local news content prefer to fly American Airlines or prefer to fly Delta. Do they stay in Marriott? Do they prefer Hilton's? So on and so forth. So there are branded providers that you can go back to with actionable learnings about very specific clients, or just giving a high-level view of different verticals in terms of understanding different flights or top travel interests or things of that nature. But again, just giving an opportunity, for your sales folks to get out there, give a lot of information in a visibly pleasing way. And then segueing to the mid and post-campaign strategy on the workflow. If you take a look here, this is sort of the flow of how we would create impression and click trackers. So this is a little bit inside baseball within the platform, but what you could expect to see if you were building out the impression and click trackers. And if this is something you are interested in, definitely work with Cherry and Tim and the team, and we'd be happy to get some collateral on how you can do this. But just know on a high level, you do have the ability to tag up any piece of creative that is running on your own sites, understand who is actually viewing that inventory, understand who is clicking, and then learning a little more about those folks. And here's an example of something that we had built out as well. By essentially tagging the creative as well as tagging up the conversion page, you can actually, through Lotame, understand attribution. From a high level, you can optimize towards likely converters. So let's say if you have a situation on your own subscription content of someone that's reaching the second level of, or maybe the checkout page to subscribe to your website, to your publishing company, you have the opportunity to understand if they actually did sign up, and then maybe retarget them with special creative, while also offering the same kind of advantages to your advertisers. If you have a good relationship with your advertisers, you can place a pixel on their conversion page, as well as the pixels on your own, first-party inventory, and be able to show from a sense of attribution that not only are you driving a high CTR, you're actually driving folks to their site and driving purchases as well. And so understanding from a mid-campaign perspective, you can use the data from the platform to provide a campaign wrap-up. Again, those mid-campaign optimizations, vertical-focused insights, retargeting your clickers or converters, and then lastly, based upon that clicker or converter data, if you're seeing a certain pattern in what else those folks are interested in or what kind of demographics they are, you can build out a custom audience and basically provide those learnings to the client and give them some more actionable feedback that maybe they were not aware of. So here's an example for any audience within the platform. You would get these kind of demographics, so gender, age, income, children, household, as well as mobile and desktop breakout. So this is an example of people who are actually viewing the inventory as well as clicking. So you could essentially go back to the client you're working with and saying that, a lot of the people that are seeing the content are female, but even more so, the folks interacting with the content are female as well. Have you thought about maybe tailoring some specific creative around some of the analytics that we're seeing to reach the folks that are actually interacting with your content? And this is another template that we had built out for a client. Just a quick way to say in a wrap deck, so not only is this your CTR, but here's what we learned about people that have interacted or clicked. Here's some recommendations for future copy or future creative based upon what we've learned. And here's some recommended content alignment to understand if you want to reach folks in the most effective verticals based on who is interacting with your content. Here's where we think you would have the most success from a first-party perspective. And then you'll see more of the same, another kind of template, just built out in a little bit of a different way, but essentially outlining who the campaign clickers are, outlining who is actually engaging with the content, as well as converters to give, those actionable learnings to your client. And, having a template like this as a quick throw-in in a wrap-up deck to drive future conversations could be very beneficial. And lastly, so on the productizing the data, one thing that we've seen some clients do, specifically in the publishing space, is essentially white labeling what the platform brings. So you can come up with your own kind of name. You can increase your CPMs from using different data within the platform, but essentially you can provide different added values or packages around a minimum spend. So if you look at the slide right here, this is renamed, and we had permission. It's not the exact sheet that a client used, but a client actually ran this program using the platform. They called something along the lines of auto perform, and they would run through this and have this included in their RFP responses to say, if you are to work with us, we will be able to give you audience targeting, provide campaign insights, mid-campaign optimization, as well as a wrap deck. And all of that is pretty templatized. All the data will be available within the platform, and then you'll have the ability to, from a mid-campaign perspective, post-campaign perspective, some templates that you can just plug that data in and really make it efficient for your sales and your account management team, as well as providing actionable learnings to the client. And lastly, this is an example of a sell sheet as well, more in the prospecting phase, just giving a run-through of the different types of capabilities, understanding your audience, reaching your most engaged customers, driving conversions, so on and so forth. So you can actually, if you'd like, position this as a more premium product, and that is something that we have seen within the marketplace.
Great. Are you ready for some questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
As a reminder, you can type those into the questions box. Has Lotame ever worked with Method CRM?
Say that again? What's the name?
One of the questions was, has Lotame worked with Method CRM?
Mrs. CRM, not that I know of. I can certainly get a better answer, and if that was a pain point or something that you wanted to work with, we can integrate with anyone as an independent company. So feel free to route that feedback, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with them.
Great. Next question. This is really cool. The slide deck here will be available, right? Yes. We will have this on our website with the webinar recording, and you'll also get an email with the link to that page. How does Lotame and Town News work together?
So I think I'll take that question. This is Tim Turner, Director of Programs. So really the partnership kind of works, Lotame as the DMP kind of collects the data and stores it for us. And their software allows us to build the audiences that we then send to various platforms. What Town News does is we identify what signals to send to Lotame, what behaviors we think are important that you can take action upon. And then we also leverage it in our ad ops program for programmatic advertising. We make Lotame available to our customers for the first party targeting that Tim talked about. And we also leverage it for behavioral content recommendations and our IQ Engaged dynamic targeting program, which lets you create personalized user experiences for your users. And it'll also be a big part of our content access control software, experience management stuff that's coming out early next year. So it's pretty ingrained in terms of into our software and how we're using it really across, the goal is across all of our software applications so that basically anytime a user does something on your site, Lotame collects that data for us and then lets us use that data to take some other action with that user.
Do you need to be a Town News IQ customer?
Yeah, so in order to leverage Lotame, you do need to participate in one of our Town News IQ programs. I just talked about there's 3 primary ways. If you're in our ad ops program, you're likely already using it. The data is being collected and it's being used for third-party targeting. If you'd like to use it for first-party targeting, just reach out to your sales rep and they'll be able to get you an addendum to your existing agreement. If you're in the IQ Engage program, you're also likely using it for behavioral content recommendations or dynamic targeting. And again, if you're not or don't know if you have it available for first-party targeting, definitely reach out to your sales rep and they'll be able to inform you what your contract is and how you can use that.
What are some examples of use cases to help us make money fast?
It's a great question. I think in general, just having the understanding who is coming to your own first-party inventory, being able to provide actionable learnings to your clients, so making money fast. If you have the information tagged up, at least in your inventory, and you're looking for a potential incremental revenue with your client, taking those learnings from your own first-party content, as well as if you did want to tag up the creative, I think that's a great way to drive incremental revenue with a client because you're giving them a lot more information than just your average. I drove a 0.12 CTR in this perspective, and click rate obviously is very important, but if you can provide those actionable learnings to your client for current campaigns, that not only can drive incremental revenue, but also by taking those learnings, building out a customized audience with that same client for their next month campaign, next quarter campaign, you can actually drive higher CPMs or drive additional budgets by providing those learnings, giving them more actionable recommendations, and showing how you're impacting their business in a positive way.
Yeah, kind of like Tim in his slide talked about, you're not just selling the ad space anymore, you're also selling the data that you learn from running that ad and the tracking pixels on your website for that customer.
Is this available for moving moving potential readers through the subscription sales funnel?
Yes, this is something that we've been working on for the last probably 12 to 18 months. Some of it we've done with just simple like front end controls and messaging, and it'll be leveraged later, again, the start of next calendar year, to more dynamically control offers and access points for users through a new product that we're launching early 2020.
Tim McDonough, I think this question is for you. What are we doing what are you doing to position yourself for AI?
For AI, well, we actually do have there is a AI product that we have from a lookalike capability as well that we didn't cover off on, but it's called an optimizer product, and we actually can build lookalikes through an AI perspective. We have a pretty rich data science team here at Lotame as well that works from an AI capacity. I think we're excited about what the future is going to bring, and we try our best to be on the forefront of any changes from a technological perspective and be ahead of the bell curve once we hit 2020 and beyond.
Great. It looks like someone wants to be put in touch with you about it, so we'll get you that information. Next question. Is this already being used for third parties for harvesting and leveraging all the data across all our newspapers? We just need to learn how to do the same at the local first party level, correct?
So I think I can kind of answer that. Yes, we are using this for third party targeting for kind of the ad ops program. And really the whole point of this webinar today was really just to help our customers understand the importance of first party data, especially as the entire ad ecosystem is changing right now in programmatic. Local media companies are in a very advantageous position because it'll be much harder for people to access and leverage third-party data in the future. And since you guys have this data and control this data for an engaged audience, you'll really have a lot of control going forward when you talk to your advertisers and your ability to market on their behalf to your customers. And so we really want to start this conversation now and get media companies comfortable with using this data and incorporating it as part of their sales strategy, because really, there could be a future where you guys are the only ones with access to this data.
We recognize that we are the community watering hole. This information is very helpful. Thank you. Okay, that appears to be all the questions that we have.
Well, cool. I just want to say, thank you to Cherry, Tim, and the rest of the team at Town News. And if you guys, have any questions for me, feel free to work through the Town News folks. Again, really enjoy the partnership. Huge thank you to Town News for letting us be a part of this today. And we're really excited about 2020 and beyond.
Thank you, Tim. So here's how people can get connected with us. You can find documentation at help.blockcms.com. You can call our support line 800-293-9576 or visit support.townnews.com. You can visit our community page at community.townnews.com. Share some of your ideas for what you're doing with your first party data, or ask questions to see what everyone else is doing. It's a great place to get ideas and share best practices. Check the status of our servers at townnews.status.io. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Sign up for one of our newsletters, and if you signed up for today, you will be added to the webinar announcement newsletter, and you'll receive a copy of the recording. Thank you again, Tim. This was really informative, and really appreciate your time. And with that, we will see you next time.
Thank you.